Let me tell you something. When it's dark and I'm all alone and I'm scared or freaked out or whatever, I always think, what would Buffy do?
High school is hell, but honestly, adulthood isn't much easier. We all face slayage, not usually the literal bumpy forehead kind of demons, but the real ones: grief, imposter syndrome, toxic relationships, and the paralyzing fear of just growing up. For 7 seasons, Buffy the Vampire Slayer gave us a roadmap for surviving the apocalypse. But for some of us, it became more than just a TV show. It became a survival guide, a moral compass. I'm Angela, and this is What Would Buffy Do? So, a bit about me. I didn't just find this show, I grew up with it. I actually started watching Buffy at the age of 8, way back at the beginning when it all began in 1997. And it's all due to my sister, who was in a pop culture class at the time and got an assignment to watch a new show called Buffy and report on it. I decided to watch it with her. And whereas she simply did her report and moved on, I couldn't. It was engaging and I was hooked. I think at that age, I really connected with the girl kicking butt because I wanted to be her. I was definitely a tomboy, and frankly, I still am, but it really just resonated with me at that age. One of the great things about Buffy is that as I continued watching it, and remember, this was when we did not have any streaming and we had to wait year to year for each season. Time passes, right? So as I grew up watching the show, I could connect better to the various plots and storylines. For instance, when I was a teenager, I could connect better to heartbreak that she experiences when Angel breaks up with her, or even more on the outcast feelings of, simply being a teenager. And so then, of course, once the show was over and I kind of transitioned into adulthood, I could rewatch the show and then relate better to season 6, where Buffy's feeling that financial stress and responsibilities of adulthood. That's the wonderful thing about this show, was that no matter what age I was, I could connect to it in a whole new way, depending upon where I was in life and what was happening in my life. Because sometimes it wasn't just simply the storyline that Buffy was going through or her friends were going through, but obviously the various metaphors that the monsters represent. Um, it really is something that resonates on a deeper level for me. And I think the most important part of that is that I could find the strength and resilience in my own life because of watching this show. For me, that was very powerful. So I guess that brings me to my thesis that the text doesn't change, but we do. So, a few years ago, I decided to try therapy. I wanted to work on my mental well being and also potentially work through some childhood issues as well. And it was there that this idea of what would Buffy do came to light. Not necessarily that I hadn't already been utilizing Buffy, in my personal life, but the therapist was the one who actually recognized it as being a bigger part of my life than even I did, which it all started because he was very religious. And while he respected the fact that I wasn't, he did ask one day, "So, Angela, what do you do? Who do you turn to? What do you turn to when you're having a hard time in life?" And I simply said, "Buffy," which sounds a little crazy. But once I explained that when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling unmotivated, or I feel like I'm failing in life, there are times that life just beats you down and you don't know what to do or how to take your next step forward. And I told him that I can always turn to Buffy. No matter the circumstance or what I was going through, I could always find something relatable in Buffy to keep me motivated. And sometimes it's just simple motivation, like the speech that she gives at the end of Bring on the Night. I watch that and I think, okay, if she's been beaten and broken and she still has fight left in her, then I do too. And if she can do it, I can do it, right? So once started talking about it and I gave him more examples, he simply stopped me and he said, "Okay, I've figured it out." And by gosh, I honestly thought what he was saying was a little insane at first. Um, but he said, Buffy is your Bible. And like I said, I definitely thought, "Oh my gosh, like this guy thinks I'm crazy. This guy thinks I worship Buffy." Which is a little nutty, but he said, "No, no, give me a chance to explain." And what he said was that he was a religious guy and his Bible helps him in everyday life through struggles and through anything else he may need. It gives him strength and it gives him motivation and it helps guide him. And I said, "Uh huh, okay." But then he said, "But look, you know, I pull out parables and verses for strength from my Bible, whereas you pull out verses and strength from Buffy." And so moving from that point forward, he would literally incorporate that into our sessions and kind of when I was struggling with something, he would say, "Well, what would Buffy do?" And to me, it actually made a lot of sense once he explained it, even though it's a little bizarre, I suppose. But I started thinking about it and I realized that it's true that Buffy has helped so many people. I've been in this fandom for so long, and I'm not the only person who has stories of Buffy helping them out in life, whether it's there's individuals who found the strength to come out to their friends and family because of Willow, or going through depression and finding similarities in Buffy season 6 and just feeling like your hero knows what you're going through. And when you have a show like this, it really makes a difference and it can and did and does till this day help people. And that's just an amazing thing.
Let me tell you something. When it's dark and I'm all alone and I'm scared or freaked out or whatever, I always think, what would Buffy do? You're my hero.
And that's it, right? Xander represents us here, the fans. We look to Buffy to learn bravery. And when I say Buffy, I don't always just mean the Slayer herself. We can learn from any of the Scoobies. So you might be wondering, what then is this podcast even about? Well, I'd like to go beyond recapping plots or another rewatch and instead mine for the life lessons and key takeaways from each episode. And I'll probably do that in order of the episode list. But also, in addition to that, I'd love to hear your stories on how Buffy saved you. If anyone was willing, I'd love to have them on to tell it in their own words. So please send your stories to wwbdstories@gmail.com. Strong is fighting. It's hard and it's painful and it's every day. So be brave. Be like Buffy. Please don't forget to send your stories to wwbdstories@gmail.com. I'll see you next time.